Welcome to the Isabelle Wellman podcast. Once again, thank you for showing up as yourself and saying yes to another new and exciting conversation between you and I, because that's how we like to do things. Simple, sweet, juicy, delicious, which is a very big theme of what I am going to be talking about today. So today's podcast is going to talk about Jupiter moving into the sign of Taurus. And although this is astrology based, I have much more to say as how to activate this within your life without knowing any astrology at all, as well as tools that will help you become more expressive and more defined in how you show up and how you express yourself in your everyday life through movement, through sex, through friendship, through activities you're passionate about, whatever it is. So we'll hop into it. What the fuck is Jupiter moving into Taurus? What do you want to know? Well, Jupiter moving into Taurus simply happens over a year. So, give or take a full year, Jupiter moves through one single zodiac sign. And I find this particular movement very alluring. Why? Because it's the second zodiac sign. So, in my opinion, I like to think that whenever any planet, whether it's a personal or outer planet, starts over through the zodiac, we're in a new era. We're in a new time frame. We're in a new zone. We really get to take a hold of opportunity and implement it in ways that feels good to us during that time. And this is going to be different for everyone. And that is why it's so beautiful and so personable. So I will make this generally broad so that you can see how this fits in and where it fits into your own life. So to go a little deeper before I move forward, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and Taurus is the second sign. So we have the ram, and then we have the bull, which I think is pretty funny because they're very similar creatures. And then you go from the bull to twins, and those are very different creatures. If you ask me, this might sound a little wild, but I really believe, I won't talk about this too much. I shouldn't even say it, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think that fire and air signs go really well together, and earth and nope. Obviously, fire and air signs go together, water and earth signs go together. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that earth and fire signs go really well together, and water and air signs go really well together. Elementally, doesn't really make sense. You throw dirt on a fire, it puts it out. What for air and water? I mean, you have cold air, the water's going to be cold. Who wants to swim in the cold water? All of the people cold plunging these days. That's who. I couldn't think of a good one for that. But anyways, what I'm trying to get at is in the zodiac, it's all placed so certainly where it's always air, earth. Oh my gosh. Fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water, fire, earth, air, water. I apologize. I am stumbling today. And so it goes in that cycle 3 different times because there's 4 different elements. And I think they're very supportive and they're a little bit more like one another versus their opposite, where they're apart by a sign, where air and fire go really well together. It goes Aries, Taurus, Gemini, fire, earth, air, water. Like I've been saying. I think they're very supportive. So, although we just moved from Aries, which is a very masculine sign, it's ruled by Mars. Mars is action packed, it's intense, it is fiery, it is spicy, it is sexual, it is driven, it's arousing, it is very independent, it's headstrong. Whereas Taurus, it is feminine. It's a feminine sign by nature. Doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. We all got yin and yang inside of us. And with this more feminine energy, I want you to reflect on, hey, since last year, probably around, I didn't even look at the date that Jupiter had gone into Aries last year. But say last May, since last May, where have you felt the spark light up? What were new things that you started? How did you take action in ways that maybe you hadn't before? What curiosities were spiked? Where did you put your focus? What did you become passionate about? What was a big realization? What was more attractive to you? Where did you want to put more of your energy? These are all things involving Jupiter and Aries. So I'll move on to Jupiter and Taurus. I wanted to give that to you, though, as a little behind the scenes, because I think it's very potent for you to reflect, and we'll talk more about this at the end. That's really a great way to say, hey, where in my own personal birth chart, if you don't know it, I encourage you to go look it up, check it out, hire an astrologer, ask me, hire me, whatever you want to do, and let's dive into it. But you can easily and for free go online, astro.com, put in your birth chart info, and look it up. You don't need to know astrology to at least go, all right, this symbol says Taurus. Find that symbol on the birth chart. Cool. That symbol, well, it's in this house. Or if you don't have any planets there, you look at where Taurus is in your birth chart. It'll just be a sliver of a pie piece. And you go, oh, it's in the 7th house. Oh, it's in the 12th house. Is there any planets there? Yes or no? And then you move forward from there. And Google. Wow. Who would have thought you could just Google all of this? It is very overwhelming, the Google. But if you're just doing 1 or 2 placements at a time and then digesting it, makes it a lot easier. So I do recommend and encourage and invite you to take that upon yourself, because this is the sign of responsibility. Ooh, it sure is. So when did this happen, Isabel? Let's get back on track. Jupiter moved into Taurus on May 16th at about 10:20 a.m. PST, 1:20 p.m. EST. And it's going to stay here until May 25th of 2024. Jupiter is a planet of, in my opinion, magic. And it is expansive. It is a more positive planet. It's here to bring more, whether that is positive or negative. It is bringing more to the situation. It is philosophical. It is all about higher education. It is challenging us to go beyond our current perception and to see beyond the veil, to see beyond what we know as right and as wrong. It is challenging us to look outside of the box, see a bird's eye view. It's the largest planet in the solar system. And it wants to be able to bring prosperity towards us. And then we move into Taurus. The sign of Taurus is notoriously all about fertility. Fertility to a T. It is ruled by the planet Venus. And when we think about Venus, we think about values. Your values, baby. Yes, I will never stop talking about your goddamn values, because if you have not done the goddamn exercise to define your top 5 values, Lord help us, you need me to come into your life and sit down with you to get this done. This can set you up for this whole entire next year. You knowing your values and not just stopping at knowing them, because you can know so much. We take so much in from the external. But if our brain is so full of shit, we will never be able to even understand what our conviction is, to know where we move forward from. So instead of just stopping and knowing your values and looking at them on your wall, table, little thing you scribbled them on, you implement them. You embody them. Taurus is physical. Taurus is an earth sign. And fertility is not solely birth and bringing a child into this world. It certainly can be. And if you happen to have Taurus, let me say this differently. If you happen to have Jupiter moving through the sign of Taurus in your chart, this is a very, very, very potent time. This is a very exhilarating, rewarding, and testing time. Not testing in the sense of, right, like you're going to fail or you're going to get an A, but testing you to see like, hey, can you believe in yourself enough? Can you trust that you have good fortune behind your back? Can you trust in your intuition and to your innate belief, whether you feel it in your gut, whether you have to sit on a feeling for a day or two to make a decision, whether you need to take 5 seconds and figure that out, or you may need to be sparked by someone else in order to step up and move forward into your life onto the path that you know is the most healing, prosperous, regenerative, sustainable for you. I'll let you digest that for just a moment. So if you are one of the lucky ones who has Jupiter moving through the house of Taurus in your birth chart, congratulations. You've won. This is like Wheel of Fortune. That's what comes to my mind. You're spinning the wheel and all of the options are purely good options. There is no bad option. You could get $0, which isn't bad. It's just, spin again, try again. That just wasn't it. That wasn't the mark. We're not hitting the check. So spin again, try again, in a new way. In a new way, which is tough for Taurus to hear because Taurus is also a fixed modality. So in astrology, you got modes. There are 3 modes. You have your cardinal, you have your fixed, and you have your mutable. And Taurus is fixed. That's why you get so much nuance about Taurus being stubborn and very strong-willed, very in their way. It's their way or the highway a lot of the time. If you don't understand them, they'll just start talking louder at you. And you're like, hey, I'm not speaking another language. We are literally both speaking English. You don't need to raise your voice at me to get your point across. Which, if you can get a Taurus to raise their voice, you might have a Taurus with some Mars on their sun sign or whatever you're invoking within them, which is very fun to witness as well. But this fixed energy, it's going to get shit done. It is very loyal. It's very reputable. And it is the long haul. It is here to start and to finish, to see it through. And Taurus is our foundational zodiac earth sign. It is where values come into play, especially being Venus ruled. I will also say that the body part that rules, or that Taurus rules, that is associated with Taurus, it's the neck, it's the throat. And I want to talk to y'all about the throat Yoni connection, and it's connected by the vagus nerve. I will be putting this article into the description, but I found an article I want to reference and speak to y'all. And it is written by, let's see here, Embodied Awakening Academy is the website. The author is Erin Fowler, EAA Tantra practitioner and facilitator. So basically, she starts off by saying, how many times have you been in the bedroom and you have not been able to speak while having sex or pleasure? And your partner could be asking you for what you want and you feel frozen. You cannot say anything. Maybe you cannot even make a sound, hence moaning, while undergoing pleasurable acts in the bedroom or the bathroom or wherever you do your dirty business, your sexy, sexy time. And this is pretty natural, because if we let's take a step back. Let's take a step back. First and foremost, we live in a very patriarchal society where we've been repressed as women to not use our voices. Our voices have been hushed, crushed, and turned into dust. We have been left behind. Men are the power source. That is now all being reframed and changing. And the change is you, boo. The change is you. The more you take this nugget of wisdom, if you take nothing else, fabulous. If you take this nugget, I'm telling you now, when you choose to consciously become aware of your insecurities, of your freeze, of not feeling comfortable or having trouble staying a hold of your boundaries in the bedroom, perhaps you say yes to sex even when your body is saying no, or something happens in the bedroom that you want to say no to, but you can't. And so the act continues. And then when you're done, you feel guilty, even if you were aroused during the moment. It is up to us to practice on our own and to become familiar and safe and clear on how we wish to vocalize our needs, wants, desires while pleasure is going on. Practice with yourself and then bring the results to your partner. Because if we cannot communicate, our partners are not at fault 100%. Obviously, there's situations, give or take. I'm just talking about a general safe scenario, mutual respect relationship, to make this easy. And then you can divulge where you need to make this apply for you. So when you're on that mutual ground, but you can't speak it, they probably want, they most certainly probably want to know what's going on, what you need, how they can help, what they can do. Because for a lot of men, they genuinely want to pleasure the woman. They genuinely want to do whatever they can to make you feel good. And if we cannot speak what we need, or so forth and so on, then that's where we have to go take it solo dolo by ourselves. By practicing by yourself, you're training your brain how to not completely turn off the communicative side of your brain while so much pleasure is going on in your body, so that you can keep an open energy cord going through from the yoni all the way up to the throat. So here is a little bit from the article. I'm actually going to read quite a lot because I really did like this, and I think it's very important for this time, whether you are a man or a woman. Whether, doesn't matter, both. Everyone has a throat, everyone has genitalia, so listen up. The physical and energetic connection between the yoni and the throat. There is a direct correlation between the throat or voice and the yoni, vagina. In a female embryo, the vocal cords and ovaries are one organ that later splits into two as the embryo develops. The word cervix comes from the Latin word for neck, and both the vagina and the throat are supported by a hammock-like set of diaphragmatic muscles which move in tandem with respiration. Right now, I invite you, this is not a part of the article, I just want to invite you to close your eyes, hand over your chest or on your throat, and then your other hand over your low belly. You're just closer to your pubic area. And I invite you to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and take multiple. As you breathe in, what do you feel in your throat? And what are you feeling all the way down to the Yoni space? I even invite you to say your name, speak some words, hum, and feel the vibration coming from the throat. And if you can feel it, move down the body, past the heart, past the belly, to the Yoni area. And if you can feel a connection or any vibration. Continuing on with the article, the physical connection between the vagina and the throat is the vagus nerve, which is the largest nerve in the body, connecting the brainstem to the sacral nerve plexus. Recent research shows that the nerve does in fact go to the cervix and uterus and probably the vagina. The vagus nerve activates the parasympathetic nervous system and is therefore able to send a sigh of relief throughout the entire nervous system. The parasympathetic, this is my own note, is the rest and relax part of the body of the nervous system. Continuing, the vagus nerve is stimulated through a number of means, including diaphragmatic breathing. This is enhanced further when done in tandem with vocalization, which is singing, sounding, humming. It makes sense that chanting and oming sound has been popular practice for relaxing the nervous system since ancient times. Deep breathing with vocalization also enhances our sexual pleasure. When someone is fully in their voice, they are often also fully in their sexuality. Identifying a dissociation between the two can be a great first step in building a greater capacity for expression, communication, and pleasure. Also, if you were to look at a photo of the larynx and the uterus, so the tube going down in the throat and then the uterus, they look not so oddly alike, which is very oh, interesting. They're pretty similar. I want to just say a couple other words that she has written here. So a woman's vocal center can switch off when she is aroused. Once a woman is aroused, her vocal center can easily switch off. When women open themselves sexually, they have a tendency not to be able to say no or express what they need, especially when there is arousal. Once a woman is aroused, her language center switches off, and it's easy to slip into a submissive role and be taken advantage of. It's extremely common for a woman to be filled with regret after sexual interaction once her rational mind is back online. This can lead to feelings of being re-traumatized, guilt, shame, and even desire to persecute and crucify the male. And like I said earlier, many men don't know this, and they aren't sure how to help. So, the more we know, the more we can be empowered, the more we can teach our counterparts. And lastly, I want to speak just this very last column, and then I will put this in the show notes so you can read it yourself. And there's a really nice practice down here you can try out. Reclaiming our female sexual power through the voice. Historically, women speaking up during sex has been rare, as male pleasure and procreation have been the primary focus, with women's voices silenced. With a history of being denounced and humiliated for speaking in our power, for speaking from a place of empowered sexuality, it's no wonder that we also still hold this in our bones, in our ancestral and cellular memories. Working with the voice, creating safety to be heard and speak up, to express from our power center, our sex center, may be part of the solution of reclaiming our feminine power. As we allow ourselves permission to make sound, to work through the fears and resistance that may arise with expressing our true desires and power, as we open our mouths and create space, so too we allow space inside our yoni and our womb. In between the two lies the heart, linking them together. Through the heart, we can find the courage to speak from an empowered place. And the Latin word for heart is cor. Courage originally meant to speak one's mind by telling all one's heart. As we start to own our voices, we drop deeper into our bodies and connect to our primal sexual power that resides in our wombs and yonis. We connect deeply to a fire, rage, and passion of the feminine of now and of eons past. We embody both the dark with the light. We connect to the potent energy of Mother Nature as she moves through us. We allow it to be seen and heard, and through these sounds, these vibrations, both a personal and the transpersonal power of our sexuality emerges unable to be repressed. We return to our original state of wild innocence. And again, I'll put that in the show notes so y'all can read it yourselves. I think that's a very powerful piece of information to know and to believe in and to go, wow, I resonate with that, or to recognize where you resonate, or to recognize where in your body you may have even shut off or closed up. And I'll just insert my own personal experience and revelation with this. So as I was reading that last paragraph, and thank you again to Aaron Fowler for those beautiful words, my own story showed up. So I'll say this in as little words as possible. In 2017, started dating a dude that I thought was the one because he was everything I imagined. I had gone through my head exactly what I wanted. Boom. And then 2017 came. I was about to turn 21. And during a yoga teacher training, I felt super sick. And I was doing my 200 hour. And so it was a Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You show up, you do everything for the whole month. And it was the best experience of my life. Yet during the middle of this, I found out I was pregnant. And as you know, Isabelle does not have a child in the here and now. And when I found out, I didn't at all. I was not in the right place. I was beyond broke. I wasn't making any money. I was being supported by that partner at the time for the most part. I was really stressed out about life. My parents were going through a divorce. I didn't really feel like I had any friends. I did not know who I was. I was just beginning this yoga teacher training practice, in which was to set me off on who I am today. And I did not have a say necessarily because, when I found out, I shared the information. And the first thing to come up is, hey, you're going to get that taken care of, right? Like, oh, okay. And I'm not here to blame, shame, or even go back to that situation because we were both at fault for whatever. And everything happened exactly how it needed to. So a year and a half later, I was becoming someone completely new, and I had all this rage inside of me. I had all of these suppressed emotions that hadn't come out, that could not be talked about, that I didn't feel like I could share. I felt small. I felt like I didn't have a say in my own life. I felt like I had to be home at certain times of the day, and if I spent too much time at the gym, I'd get accused of X, Y, and Z. And it just became less of a partnership and more of a friendship with benefits. And the love was leaking away. Like the love that was there in the beginning had died. And I don't even know what was keeping it going at that point. And so I ended up breaking it off. And that led me into a boatload of emotional leakages and energy leakages. And I was figuring out who I was, picking up the pieces of a broken heart of why couldn't I have been enough? Or what would my life be like if I had said yes to that decision? Because it was a mutual choice at the end of the day. I take full responsibility for the choice I had. And I am happy with the choice I made because it was not the time, and it was not the partner, and it was not the story I wanted to tell. Unfortunate, but true. And as I left that relationship and I found different people to look towards, to learn from, to learn about my femininity, my wounds, and how to come through with them, it began with healing my mother wound, and then the father wound, and then going in and addressing my womb wound. Because, that following year in the summer, I had all of my shit together in my head, and it felt so in my body. And I called in this new partner, still together today. And I had begun to have chronic yeast infections, bacterial vaginosis, and just a slew of issues going on downstairs in my womb area. But I had no awareness, I had no knowledge of this connection of the throat and the yoni, of emotional suppression, repression, oppression, and just an ailments with physical issues going on, with chronic diseases, with sickness. So that whole year, I mean, we were together, we lived in Alaska. Every month, I was going to the fucking ER to get antibiotics. I swear to God, I kept going back, and I kept going back, and I kept going back because I didn't know any better. I wasn't as crazy in the holistic health as I am today, which I'm so happy about. And this is what really drove me that route. No one was fixing the root of the problem or addressing, like, hey, girl, these, like, we're just killing all of your gut bacteria. And eventually this is going to destroy your inner ecosystem. And this isn't really solving the problem. This is just giving you momentary relief. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I was just doing what I thought you do when you had an issue. You go to the doctor, they give you the antibiotics, you take them, you get better. But I wasn't getting better. So the issue was deeper than that. Finally, I had the last straw. We had set up the weekend to go backcountry skiing, and I woke up with the itch, and it was unbearable. It was horrible. And so instead of going skiing, my beloved partner drove me around town to go to the doctor, who was like, hey, it sounds like you've been to us about 11 other times. How about you try a natural path? Let me recommend you to one. And that was wow, wow, wee, whoa, woo. Amazing. And she recommended me to this natural path. And I expect after 20 minutes of questions from this natural path, she's sitting at this desk. It's a very lovely environment. I feel very safe. It's not sterile and like a doctor's office. I understand they need to be that way. But it was so nice to be able to go somewhere and talk to this woman about my feelings and about the situations that have happened in my life and what I needed to address that was the underlying issue, and not just going on antibiotics again. So after she listened, after everything I told her, she told me to get cotton underwear, to use a certain thing to clean my area. And it was basically a organic, no scent whatsoever, pH neutralizing soap by the Honey Pot. I don't use it anymore, but I really do like it and did like it. And then she recommended me an herbal tea blend of 7 different herbs. I ordered them through Mountain Rose Herbs, I believe is the name. And it was pretty cheap. It only cost $40 to buy all those herbs. And then she asked if I wanted to come off of my IUD and how that could be playing a role in my problems. I'll go to that in just a second. And then on top of that, she suggested I play with my diet because my gut microbiome in my belly, from all the antibiotics going in and killing everything, all the good, all the bad, for so long, it was going, things were havoc in my belly, in my stomach. And also the caffeine addiction I had with the coffee. That was not helping. So she told me to cut coffee that day. Don't drink it anymore. At least not for a couple months, 3 months at the minimum. And that is when my nutrition, health, recovery journey really fucking began. And wow, it was a roller coaster. So I got my IUD out, and I was so afraid of getting this out because I was asleep when they put it in from my operation. in 2017. And I didn't want one. I'd never been on birth control before. I didn't believe in it. I just knew that there are other ways to go about it. I didn't want something messing up my hormones or living inside my body, being invasive. Yes, there is this freedom of having peace of mind, and it's also fucking lazy. Okay? It is. If you're on birth control because you want to prevent pregnancy, honey, you can only get pregnant 5 days out of the month. And that's during your ovulation window. If you took it upon yourself, because no one else in our society really is taking it upon themselves to make it a part of our learning or educational regimen, to learn about our bodies, the female body, the reproductive system, what's actually true, what's actually not, then there's so much more ease of like, oh yeah, I'm menstruating. I just got off my menstrual cycle. I'm just about to begin it. I'm pretty safe to go. Myself, I still wear condoms, and that's great. So, needless to say, there's so many other ways to do things, but I just see it as a sense of like, oh, abuse to the woman body, repression on the woman body. Oh, it's going to help your acne. Oh, it's going to help your headaches. Oh, it's going to help this. You're fucking nuts. Where is what science and logic does that even make sense in? And I'm getting a little unhinged, but this is how I feel because I know too many people who've been fed these words. Oh, it will help your acne. Oh, it'll do this. It is just a band-aid for a problem, which could be as little as sleep, diet, your circadian rhythm, exercise, and the last one is relationships. Those 5 areas of your life can be addressed every single day. And when you address them, when you keep up with them every single day, and you're right by yourself with them, come back to me. Let me know how you feel. Let me know where the acne went. Let me know how your moods are. Let me know how your PMS is. Let me know how much more in control and attuned with your body you feel. And that's the whole point I'm trying to make. Birth control disconnects you from your body. And it actually, let me tell you this, it actually changes your attraction to men or whoever you're attracted to. So let that sink in. Imagine. And I've read different articles on this of a couple, man, woman. Woman gets off birth control. They've been together for 5 years. They're in love, right? This woman gets off birth control and her body's re-regulating after 5 years of this irregulation, trying to come back to a homeostasis, which it will, because the body is a fucking genius. And it's the most magical thing in the whole universe. The body, amazing. Every part of the body, it's a whole thing. It's all integrated together. You can't just pick one. It's all here. And they had to take a break because she didn't find him attractive anymore. She didn't find him interesting. She needed space. Needless to say, there were couples who ended up getting back together and then couples who did not. But that's just a very big thing that could happen. Like, what? It's just crazy to me. So I'm getting off track. I'll get back on track. I continued by healing my body, getting back into sync, getting my emotions back in order, and going in and healing my womb. I did a lot of actual solo Reiki sessions before I even knew what it was. I would turn on this guided meditation. I had different crystals that I just picked up from the wild. Some were pinkish, like rose quartz. Some were others from Moab, and so they probably had some ancestral Native American background to them from the land that I had collected them from. And I would place them wherever I felt like it. And I had so many experiences where I would put one on my heart. I'd put one over my pelvis. And I felt like I was melting, or I was just completely hollow in that area, or I was transcended or astral traveling to a different dimension or above my body. projecting above my body and witnessing myself and acknowledging, forgiving, believing in a new way. And that is as simple as it can get in some cases, but it's just a consistent effort of, you have 4 different energy bodies outside of your physical body. And when there's different blockages in these 4 light bodies, and we're not attuning to them, that can be what pressures us down into the physical body and actually causes the issues. I think it's very fascinating. And I would love to find someone I can talk to and ask questions more too, because I don't know as much as I would like to explain and express this to you. I'm just simply reading a book that's blown up my mind and connecting all these little dots and experiences I've already had along the way. And so, on that note, I have learned to use my voice this year. From that girl who's taking antibiotics every single month to get rid of this issue that was a deeper emotional, physical issue, getting the IUD removed, going through womb healing, and then last year, 2021, when I went to that retreat in Greece with my beloved friends, Paulina and Tol, which they're having the retreat again this year. I'll also put in the show notes. We went through a lot of the chakra systems, and they talked a lot about sounding and making sound and singing and vibrational frequency. Paulina's partner, Zen Onyx, he's a musician. Look him up on Spotify. Shout out Zen. Love you all. Such a wholesome people, wholesome friends, wholesome sisters and brothers. There were times when I met myself for the first time and freezing when wanting to make a sound, and the battle in my head of, just make this sound, just do it, like, you're safe, you're around all these loving people. And the other side that's, no, you're not good enough, you have to stay silent, you've always stayed silent. And on that retreat, there's a grief ceremony, and my aunt came to fruition in my mind, and that's who I was calling upon, and she had cervical cancer. I believe something happened where she wasn't able to express it or share it with anyone because no one would have believed her. And it was this screaming in my body, this pulsation. And I finally let out the largest, loudest, aggressive, root splitting roar I had ever let out in my life. And it just felt like this powerful beam of release of anger, of rage for all of us in my ancestral line and those around me who have been told to stay silent and not speak up and not talk and not share and not tell their truth. And we are the ones who get to consciously choose to change it by becoming aware of our freeze, of our lack of boundaries, of having a problem with speaking when we want to say no. And it's all taking the time, choosing to take the time. You get to choose to take the time to work through this in your own way. And so it was so freaking weird and beautiful and cosmically hilarious how before I went on that treat, my good friend, the pleasure pollinator, who will be on the podcast soon, had invited me into this love, sex, relationship coaching. And we did 10 sessions over 5-ish months of every other week, sometimes every week, with some different arrangements in between. We met once a week, and we would go through a session, about an hour, hour and a half, and it opened me up. At the end of the process, for the first time, I felt safe in my body, imaging myself being a mother and birthing a child in a safe home environment, supported, abundant, prosperous. And since that operation in 2017, I love children. I love child energy because it's so pure and honest, and they are much closer to their connection with source because they haven't been smudged and and conditioned and limited by society as adults have and much older people have. And so up to like 8, 9, 10, they're so pure and they're still so connected and they're so honest unless something really gets to them. And maybe they even keep that alive as they get older. And they remember, yeah, that's still as pure as the day I came out the womb. So it was very full circle. All of these things happening over a 5-period time span, 17, 18, 19, 20, 7-period time span, holy 8-period time span. I can't even count. Over 8 years of my life, I went through this learning how to go from not speaking my needs to being much better about asking for what I want. And with my current partnership, having a healthy relationship where we can explore and experiment and communicate and talk. And I have the comfort of having my own pleasure practice at least once a week. At least once a week. I am not afraid or ashamed to admit that. That has helped me in my personal power. I honestly believe it has helped me become a magnet for exactly what I want in this moment, which really took place about 3 months ago, and being able to continue the practice moving forward. So I cannot emphasize enough to y'all, I think over the last 20 minutes, half an hour, how damn important this is for us. It's so necessary for us to awaken our safety in ourselves and to find what helps us connect. May that be a sensual smell or taste or feeling or an atmosphere or an environment or letting go of expectations or having a safe word or having a conversation not in the bedroom, purely out of a sexual, intimate moment, to talk about what you want and need and crave and like what would help you move forward, and sharing your experience so that you can understand one another's experience. And then when it comes time, implementing it, practicing, not always getting it right, still having the up and down moments as we have as humans. And I think that's a very true embodiment and calling of when we're talking about Venus, of the goddess Venus, the planet Venus. And to wrap this all up, this little section, the neck and throat by, this is another source to give y'all, Louise Hayes. Oh no, did I lose it? No, I got it. So Louise Hayes. First and foremost, what's connected with the neck and throat when it comes to symptoms or how we're feeling is anger, communication, lack thereof, expression, creativity, voice, burns, sore throat, laryngitis, choking. Imagine when you choke, when you're trying to put things in the body too fast, you choke to prevent it from going in. It's the same for the yoni. The yoni stays dry and it says no, 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 when it doesn't want anything to go in. Headaches, migraines, rape or incest, recovery, inflammation, swelling, and ears. And it's not wanting to hear what is being, what is being told to us. And then I go to this Louise Hayes page and it's different symptoms with different body parts or like the meanings behind what's going on. And under ear, from what she says, represents the capacity to hear. Ache, anger, not wanting to hear, too much turmoil, household arguing. And you can reflect on that as you need. Let me see if I can go down and find one for the pubic area. Vaginitis, angry at a mate, sexual guilt, punishing the self. And that's the one. Uterus represents the home of creativity. Urinary infections, pissed off, usually at the opposite sex or a lover, blaming others. And so it's really a combination of where are we blaming? Where are we taking conscious responsibility for our actions, for our lives, for what has happened? Where can we forgive? How can we learn? What can we open our minds to? This is the season, Jupiter in Taurus, baby. So before we wrap this down, we tie this up with a bow. How can you use this energy? Well, everything I just said. I'll put that article in the show notes and you can go and look at the practice they list. You can also self-pleasure. You can go fuck yourself. Go make yourself feel real good. And if you have a mirror, grab the mirror. Place it in an area. Watch yourself. If that's too much for you, start with simply going in your bathroom, all your clothes on, and feeling your body, doing what like soft touch on your skin, on your arm, on your throat. Close your eyes and just feel how good it is. And say nice things to yourself. I am so strong. I'm so proud of myself. I forgive myself for ever doubting me in the past. Whatever you need to say. I reclaim my sexual power. I reclaim my sovereignty. I reclaim my discernment for what and how I want to lead my life. So those are a couple ways to use tools to emphasize and begin to integrate this energy into your life. And then astrologically, how do you find out what this is about for you? So you can look at the house, wherever Taurus is in your birth chart. So for me, it's in my 7th house. 7th house, it's all about relationships. And remember, Jupiter is all about prosperity, fertility. It can bring a lot in. It wants to bring more. It wants to bring in deeper teachings, deeper lessons, higher education. So how can I share and teach others from my own experiences, from relationships, reclaiming their power? How can I even go the step further? Because relationship is nothing without the relationship with yourself. So for me, it's like, oh, who are you? And what does it look like for you to show up as yourself every single day without hesitation, without dampening your light? And so it's still a very juicy time to deepen your relationship with yourself and another. If it's in the 12th house for you, this is a very abundant time spiritually. And it's, hey, double down on this. You're ready for something bigger. Chase after your dream. Like, pay attention to your dreams from the night, write them down. What patterns are showing themselves to you? What can you take from it? What is it trying to tell you? Where might you be hesitating? Where might you not feel stable enough? Where do you need to add to your foundation before you leap into your faith and into the trust of the universe? How can you trust the universe first and then confirm this through the actions and the opportunities that show themselves to you? How can you perceive differently in order to follow your joy, your pleasure? So it's going to look different for every house. And basically the house is where in your own life is this going to show up for you. So for me, relationships, self and other. Someone in the 12th house, their connection with trusting the ultimate good of the world, source, spirit, goddess energy, whatever you want to say. And then if you have planets in the house of Taurus, where Jupiter is passing through, say your sun, baby, it's time to go big. This is your time to shine, your time to take up space. This is your time to say yes to exactly what you want and to not differentiate or limit yourself from that opportunity. If it's Mars, well, it probably means that it's really time to get to work and you're going to have some really great sex. Like, you can have both. Your testosterone is going to be on point. Your hormones are going to be stabilized. Like, if you're doing the 5 things I said before: sleep, circadian rhythm, nutrition, exercise, relationships. If you're checking off all those boxes, your body can easily regulate itself in this positive homeostasis. And the planets, so whatever planet you're looking at, you ask, all right, what's the planet rule? Like, what's it about? Mars rules masculinity. Venus rules femininity, prosperity, abundance, wealth, pleasure, joy, values. Uranus is rebellion. What are you here to go against the grain of? What are you going to switch up? What are you pivoting on? What is dramatically changing in your life that you need to let go of? That's me. That's me. That one's me. I have Uranus square Taurus. So that's a different story. I take it back, but yeah. Anywho, I invite you to reflect, to look up your birth chart. Find out where it is in your chart, if you have any planets, if not, what house is it in, and how can you reflect? All right, if Taurus is moving through my 7th house now, that meant it was moving through my 6th house before. My 6th house had Saturn in it, and there were some very optimistic and amazing opportunities that came my way, as well as getting more defined in, oh, what am I here to do and what am I here for? And so I really welcome you to reflect on those 2 pieces. What house was it just in? Where in my life did this show up? How could I see it showing up in my life this year without expectations, without defining it? And with the caveat that this is not just a fluffy, happy-go-lucky, pure wealth and prosperity placement. Like, this is also can have the negative experience of addiction, overindulging, not taking care of the body, a little too much of the time, not being proportionate in how you're eating, you're exercising, taking care of your body, your relationships, getting sunlight on your skin, in your eyeballs when you wake up, and reducing blue light before you go to bed. If you don't know what your values are, well, that guy you've always loved will come back into your life and you'll give yourself away to them without setting any boundaries, or by crossing over your boundaries or saying yes even when you want to say no. But he's so hot and the sex is so good, but I just can't leave him even though he makes me fucking miserable, and it's not clear communication and we have completely different values for what we want in the future. Honey bunny, it's time. It's time. It's time to value who you are and who you're becoming. Such a magnificent period. Yeah. And last but not least, I do want to share a couple of practices. So, how I was talking about our perception earlier. Well, when you think you have a problem with yourself or in your life, that's a perception, particularly when it's with yourself. Like, I break everything I touch. Like, that's a perception of a problem that I think I have, but the only problem that I really have is believing that there's even a problem at all. So let me go deeper into this. And this is a really great thing to do, so just dog ear that page for a second. This is from my membership on Taurus that I taught all last year, and it talks about how to determine when a challenge came alive within you. Example scenario: you started to have a panic attack, or you started to have panic attacks, something you never experienced before, and they started 6 months ago. Issues like anxiety, depression, panic attacks, alcoholism, drug abuse in general begin because of an event, because something triggers us or happens to us. Even if it's so subliminal, it still pushes us over that edge. So think back to when it all began. What happened to you and or a loved one? And then how you could utilize a breathwork practice to breathe this out of your body. Because like I mentioned earlier, when I first started to read that article, hand on the throat, pubic area, humming, singing, feeling that vibration flutter out through the body. It awakens you, it changes your physiology. So when you can determine when in your life an issue arose, you can begin to unpack the emotional reaction that is often caused by the suppression of that issue. So allowing the body, mind, and soul to experience the discomfort, grief, pain, whatever it is for you, will actually allow you to dissolve the issue and thus begin to choose to not become identified by the event and the feelings it aroused. Your breath has the ability to shift your physiology, your psychology, and overall outlook on your life. And here are a couple techniques that you can use. So this is one of my favorites. It's the 4-7-8. You inhale for 4, you hold for 7, you exhale for 8. And this was developed by Dr. Andrew Weil, and it's referenced as the natural tranquilizer for the nervous system. So you practice this breathing technique for 4 rounds twice a day. And then you work your way up and how many rounds you want to do and complete. And it's great before bed. If you're having trouble sleeping, having trouble during your day, you just need a little reset. So let's go through it right now. We'll do 4 rounds. We'll inhale for 4. We'll hold for 7. We'll exhale for 8. And then I'll just describe the other ones to you, and then we'll sign off. So if you are safe to do so, please center yourself by closing your eyes. If you're in the car, please stay aware and just listen. Follow the breathing as you drive and your presence is on the road. Allow any sounds, movements, noises, yawns, shakes that need to come out of the body before you come into stillness. Take in some slower inhales and exhales. And on our next inhale, we will begin. I will count every single inhale, exhale, hold. So get ready. We'll start in 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last round. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back to natural breathing. Witness how your body feels after those 4 simple and easy rounds of breath. Where in your physiology have you shifted? Psychologically, how have you shifted? Just take minor notes. There are other types of breathing, like diaphragmatic breathing, like that article talked about in the beginning, the vagus nerve activation. You can place one hand on the chest, one on the belly. Inhale and notice when one hand moves out further. If the hand on the chest moves forward, that shows your chest breathing. If the hand on the belly moves out forward, your belly breathing and fully breathing. As you inhale, draw the diaphragm downwards as your ribs expand out. Feel as if you're breathing into the pelvis. Pause for 2 to 4 seconds there. And then exhale and allow the diaphragm to push the breath out. Ribs come back to neutral and the navel draws down towards the spine. And so if you were to continue that practice of seeing when something arose for you, you could go deeper and ask yourself 4 questions. So whether you are having panic attacks because of said thing, like panic attacks happened 6 months ago. Said thing happened 6 months ago. All right, what are the feelings that come up with my panic attacks? Well, the first question, could you allow yourself to welcome in the feeling of blank, whatever that is? Begin to name it and feel it in your body. Feel what it makes you feel and the thoughts that accompany it. Second question, could you allow yourself to let it go? Simple yes or no. 3 is, would you allow yourself to let it go? Simple yes or no. And then 4, when would you let it go? Now, later, I don't know. There's no right or wrong answer. Yes and no are simply just sounds. That's a practice from the Sedona method. And that's one of my favorite practices to do that really changed how I approached issues last year. And it flows really nicely into this season of life. So wherever you're at, I hope that you're here for it, that you're buckling up, but you're slowing down, but you're ready, but you're going to savor the moment, but you're going to make it a good time. Because Taurus loves a good journey. It wants to be outside of nature. It wants to decompress. It wants to be around family. It wants to grow roots into the ground. It's the first sign of the zodiac. Remember that you're able to plant your own garden. You're able to weed it out, make it look however you want. Change is good, even for a Taurus, which Tauruses don't like change. So if you find a routine that is helpful to your body, mind, soul, to your sleep, nutrition, circadian rhythm, exercise, relationships, stick to it. Stick to it. Everything else can fall away. If it's not serving you, let it fall away. Let it decompose. Be a sustainable human. Recollect that energy and put it towards the next best thing, which is probably healthier for you in the long run. And that's all I have. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a rad rest of your week, and I hope that you be well.